Rain poured down relentlessly outside the dimly lit bar, the kind of rain that seemed to wash the city clean yet left a heaviness in the heart of those who walked beneath it. Inside, the world felt quieter, slower, as if time itself had taken a pause. At the far end of the bar, slouched on a worn leather stool, sat Jason Miller, a man whose shoulders carried the invisible weight of loss, responsibility, and exhaustion. His eyes, deep and hollow, stared into the amber swirl of whiskey in his glass, a mirror to the storm raging in his mind. He wasn't here for the drink, not really. He was here to escape the silence of his apartment, the quiet that reminded him, every night, that he was a single dad raising a 9-year-old daughter alone. And tonight, the emptiness felt more suffocating than ever. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the magic of human connection, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Jason's life hadn't always been like this. A few years ago, he had a family that made life feel like a warm summer day, laughter echoing through the rooms, bedtime stories, birthday parties. But tragedy struck suddenly. His wife, Emily, had passed away in a car accident, leaving him with a daughter, Lily, whose bright eyes were both his joy and his constant reminder of all he had lost. Nights like this were the hardest. Nights when the weight of parenting, the pressure of work, and the ache of loneliness collided into a single, heavy wave. He felt like a man slowly drowning on dry land, desperately trying to stay afloat while pretending to be strong. The bar was nearly empty tonight, save for a couple of strangers nursing their own invisible burdens. Jason barely noticed when a woman entered. She moved with an effortless confidence, a kind of quiet power that seemed to command attention without demanding it. Her name was Victoria Reynolds, a self-made CEO of a rising tech company, known in the city for her sharp mind and uncompromising determination. Yet beneath her polished exterior, she carried her own scars, sleepless nights, relentless pressure, and a personal life she had long abandoned in pursuit of success. Victoria slid onto the stool beside him, close enough that the warmth of her presence brushed against his shoulder. Jason glanced at her, startled by the sudden proximity, but there was something in her eyes, soft, understanding, almost knowing, that stopped him from turning away. She whispered, "Stay with me tonight," not as a command, but as an invitation, an acknowledgement of loneliness she recognized in him because she had felt it herself. For a long moment, Jason just stared at her, unsure, hesitant, the walls he had built around his heart resisting the unfamiliar connection. But there was something unspoken in that moment, a silent understanding between two souls who had carried more than their share of pain. Slowly, he nodded, allowing himself to be present, to let someone see him without pretense. They talked, quietly at first, sharing fragments of their lives like carefully chosen puzzle pieces, and then with growing trust. Jason spoke of Lily, of the sleepless nights and the overwhelming responsibility of being both mother and father. Victoria shared her story too, the sacrifices she had made, the loneliness of success, the fear of never finding someone who truly understood her. In that small, dimly lit bar, the world outside ceased to exist. Time slowed. Pain softened. And for the first time in years, Jason felt the weight on his chest lift, if only a little. They laughed quietly over shared stories, over little absurdities of life that felt monumental when shared with someone who understood. And as the night deepened, Victoria reached out, lightly touching his hand, a gesture of reassurance that sometimes, being brave wasn't about never falling, it was about letting someone catch you when you did. Jason felt a strange, unfamiliar hope blooming in his chest. He realized that life, no matter how heavy, had a way of nudging hearts together, even in the bleakest moments. For Jason, the night wasn't about romance, it was about human connection, about finding someone who could recognize the cracks in your soul and still choose to stay. For Victoria, it was about vulnerability, about trusting someone enough to share not just success, but the lonely ache of a life lived in ambition's shadow. And in that unspoken exchange, both discovered a profound truth: sometimes, healing begins not with grand gestures, but with a simple, shared presence. By the time they left the bar, the rain had eased, leaving the city streets glistening like glass. Jason walked Victoria to her car, neither wanting the night to end, yet knowing that life's demands would pull them back into separate worlds. But something had shifted. A spark had been lit, fragile yet undeniable, a promise that perhaps, despite loss and heartbreak, new beginnings were possible. Jason returned home that night, carrying a lightness he hadn't felt in years. He tucked Lily into bed, watching her sleep with a sense of peace that had eluded him for too long. And somewhere in the city, Victoria lay awake too, thinking of a man who had reminded her that even the strongest heart sometimes needed to lean, even for just a night. If this story touched your heart, please engage with the video, like, comment, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that human connection can heal even the deepest wounds. Before you leave, I'd love for you to comment below what small act of kindness has ever changed your life, because sometimes, the smallest gestures leave the deepest marks. Life is unpredictable, messy, and often painful, but it is also capable of bringing together the most unexpected souls at the exact moment they need each other the most. Jason and Victoria's night wasn't a miracle. It was simply a reminder that even in our loneliest hours, hope can walk right up beside us, whispering softly, urging us to stay, to trust, and to believe that tomorrow can be brighter than today.